Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to FROMDAGATE Podcast, where we bring you game, good times, and genuine conversation. I'm Lisi.
Sess.
Let's get it. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us on FROMDAGATE, and today we are talking about the mental toll of hustle culture. Because we all know, we've all been through those well, at least for me, let me speak for myself. The most common phrase I hear from like my grandpa, dad, whatever is, "Oh, you can sleep when you're dead." And that pretty much sums up the whole mentality of hustle culture. Grind until you are too tired to do anything else. You need to work your ass off if that's what you want. And if you want to be able to be successful in this life, you have to work your ass off regardless of how burned out you feel, regardless of how exhausted you feel, regardless of how overworked you feel. If you want to be successful, you have to overexert yourself and then rest when you're 6 feet under. And so we're going to be unpacking the whole like mental toll of that whole idea that is behind hustle culture, and why rest is not a sign of weakness. Just in case you didn't know, now you know. Because if you don't know, now you know. But rest is actually a power move, whether we realize it or not. And so if you are like me and you have I've worked for a company my entire life, whether my parents were my boss or whether I was working for another boss. I've worked for someone else my entire life. And so in working for someone else, a lot of moments where I felt exhausted, burnt out. If I took a break, I felt bad about taking breaks. I felt bad about taking time for myself. And so if you are like me and you are stuck in that mindset of, oh, no, I'm just going to work through my break because there's so much work that needs to be done and I need to be able to complete all my tasks. This episode is for you. And so if you haven't yet, please don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles. And if you have not subscribed to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or iHeart, or YouTube, because our audio is now being streamed on YouTube also. So if you have not followed us there, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all our platforms. And thank you so much to all of the people who do follow us and support us. And don't forget to share. If you feel a type of way about what we're talking about, don't forget to share what you love. First question I have is, what is hustle culture? So, according to the dictionary, according to my researchers, it is the obsession with constant productivity. The idea that if you're not always working, grinding, or going after it, then you are failing. And to be honest, this is something that I have attributed, this is something that I've done my entire life without realizing that I was doing it, but it's just because that's what I was taught. I was taught like from an early age.
Because that's how our parents was taught.
Right.
So, yeah.
It just kind of gets passed down generation to generation. And so seeing my parents kind of like break their back, like my dad was always traveling for work. Like my dad was never ever home. My dad was always So my dad was always traveling for work. He was barely ever home. Like it was a treat for us to have my dad home. Like it was like winning $1 million to have my dad home. And so, come Lalo.
Sample all of the just just kidding, huh? That's why you have a just kidding.
That's why you have a LOL.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But because like it was constant like work, and even my mom, even though my mom was home with us, my mom was never at home with us because she was always taking care of the business, working, doing work for like church, and by the time they get home, like they're so tired, they don't want to do anything. They lash out because like hours are not done.
You want to help make the offie
You wanna
and
ask me for the cooking, but
but are you too tired? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
and so they just were constantly working, constantly going, and then like you see how exhausted they are, you see how overexerted they are, and then automatically in for me in my subconscious, I'm like, okay, success in my work life means I have to work with no breaks. I have to overexhaust myself. I have to overwork myself. Whatever company I work for, whoever it is I work for, I need to give them my 120%. Not even 110. Actually, let's not even do 120. Let's do 200%.
Mm.
Double the 100%. Like I have to give them my all because they're giving me money, they're paying me, they're rewarding me. I'm their circus monkey. Like, here, monkey, dance, dance, dance. I know I used that in the other episode, but but that's exactly what I equate it to. Is that's exactly what I equal it out to. And so because they're rewarding me for my work, even though it's not much that they're rewarding me for my work, like I'm getting $5 an hour to do office administrative work, like and to make sure that the office is running effectively for the organization. Like, yeah, okay, I know it's not a lot, but I'm still getting some kind of money in order to pay my bills and in order to take care of what I need to take care of. And so the whole idea of like hustle culture where you have to give your all or else you're not going to get paid properly or you're not going to get what you are wanting to get from whatever it is that you're doing. Who cares about self-fulfillment? Who cares about feeling balanced? That's not what you're there to do. That's the mentality that I was brought up in. Like work life balance doesn't mean anything. Personal fulfillment doesn't mean anything. As long as you're getting the money, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
And that is such a, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying money is bad because we need money in order to survive. We need money in order to live. We need money in order to pay our bills. We need money in order to live comfortably. But to make money the king of your
Maybe
life to
not
where
to
you
feel.
overwork yourself and to overexert yourself just to get money is not okay. And exploiting people for that purpose is not okay. That's just my personal opinion. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I agree, 1000%.
Like it's not fair that people get taken advantage of and they're willing to do all this work and you're only willing to reward them a little bit because it's like, well, you don't really have any power to be bargaining with me on how much reward that you should get for the work that you're doing. And so we constantly try to overwork ourselves and try to give the best because we know that what I do in this job is going to affect my next job, or what I do in that job is going to affect what I do in another job. It's going to affect whether or not I'm going to be able to get more clients. It's going to affect whether or not I'm going to be able to work another week and survive until next week. And so even the whole concept of bi-weekly pay is stupid to me. People need money every week, not just bi-weekly, but because it saves money for companies in order to pay their employees every other week and it saves them on taxes to pay them every other week, they go with the bi-weekly pay versus the weekly pay. But anyways, that's probably another conversation for another episode. But we see, for me, when I look through social media and I look at like people that are like entrepreneurs or people that are like working, they put it in a way where it's like they're
Well, no,
constantly
this is
like,
also why, like, sorry to jump in, but
no, you're okay.
this is why when you decide to take a little break in between and do such a thing like an entrepreneur, starting a business, and then you're like, oh, look at that man, motherfucker think he better than us,
Right,
and then you get hated on that,
right,
and then like instead, like that's how it works, and then you get hated on that, and then you can't forget about them. You know what I mean? And
right,
then it's like you try to climb up the ladder, and then you get hated on by essentially everybody in the mix, because now the word gets around
preach,
that like there's nothing wrong. I mean, all it does is just a couple of steps,
right,
and you could do the exact same thing, but instead you like to just sit there and hate from afar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the hate is real. Let's just keep that one thou wow. Like that's the new term is thou wow. Instead of keeping that they hate. You know what I mean?
100%.
I'm like need too bad.
You think you got your own business that's
I'm like, bro, like it's for all of us. I mean,
right.
it's something to share. Like for everybody. There's enough for everyone to eat.
Yeah, exactly. There's enough resources for everyone to eat at
Like,
the
why do you
table.
got
It's
to eat
just
off the bread on my table? Because I don't want to eat the bread off of yours. I just don't tell you that. But,
right.
but
I gotta bring my Clorox wipe to disinfect your table first.
like maybe you should be worried about cleaning your motherfucking house than hating on me. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, go ahead, finish. My bad.
No, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right because that's exactly why these entrepreneurs post like them constantly working because they're trying to show their haters like I'm putting in 24 hours of grind in order to have this business that I have, in order to have the success that I have. You know what I mean? And so they put out this picture cuz come on, are they really working 24 hours in a day? Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't really
Well,
know.
it's called a balance, motherfucker.
Right, but there's no
It's a balance.
balance that's shown on social media.
Yeah.
On social media, it's always like work 24 hours, 7 days a week, like scrolling through it, they are like posting like 5 a.m. workouts, nine
Well, this
o'clock
is
meetings,
why
7 o'clock meetings, 8 o'clock
to that
meetings.
person that decides to do all those things, you got to know what you're doing, and you know what I'm saying, and know what time you got to get up, know what time to shut off the phone, know what time to get your proper meals in place, and all of that jazz.
Right. And so when you look at all of those things that they are doing, like meal prepping and
And it's not
going
hard at all.
right, it's being able to come up with the schedule and sticking to it. But then we look at it, and so like I know for me, when I look at stuff, I'm like, damn, am I even doing enough to be like on this level of success that they're on and this lifestyle or whatever it is that they're living? And then it automatically, which is where the hate comes from, because people hate what they can't achieve
And by the way,
themselves.
they hate when they smiling.
They hate when they can't achieve it themselves because they feel like, well, that person is doing too much. Then they start to say, "Oh, they're doing too much and they're being extra." Oh, extra, extra. Read all about it.
Being do extra.
I didn't boast this for you. I boasted for my own personal self-esteem. If
For
your
real.
self-esteem is hurt because of what I post, then that's a you problem, and you can keep that on your page.
For real. While you over here trolling everybody.
And then yeah, and so all of a sudden we see that exhaustion becomes like this badge of honor that people want to wear. Like, oh, I worked like, oh yeah, I was working on this project all night, or I was working on this like from 6 p.m. to like 11 o'clock at night. Like, I barely got sleep. And they just kind of brag on how many hours it is that they worked on a certain
You was
thing. And
watching Netflix. Stop lying.
oh yeah. How much Netflix shows you've completed from that time to that time? No, just kidding. But just the illusion. A lot of this culture is based on the illusion of always working. And that if you are working 24/7, that automatically equals success. But that is not true. That is a myth. It's a unicorn in this world that we live in. And so that's kind of like where that leads to question number 2 is why is overworking or overexhaustion seen as a badge of honor? Or why do we overwork ourselves in pursuit of the hustle to be a part of this hustle culture? Why do we applaud people who overwork?
Because it's called keeping up with the Joneses. So we want to satisfy the next person that really don't matter.
Right.
We want to look good, whether it's on the gram, uh, for the family, for whoever.
Right.
It's keeping up with the Joneses.
Right. But all it really is doing, it leads to mental exhaustion, it leads to burnout, it leads to depression, it leads
Mm-hmm.
to social anxiety because you no longer know who to trust, you no longer know who to like interact with. Your circle is like, you're like, I don't even know who's in my circle no more because I'm so busy, I'm so focused in on just working, I no longer have time for everybody else.
True. That's facts.
And like there's a lot of studies that show that overworking and just kind of the dark side of hustle culture, it just leads to increased stress levels. And then if your stress levels are high, your immune system is going to be weak. So then you're more susceptible to like cancer and just like diseases, flus, colds.
And really, that's how all of that stuff becomes, is because it leads to
It's
excessive
from
eating,
stress. Yeah, exactly.
excessive drinking, excessive whatever.
Right, because you're trying to get rid of the stress that you feel in your life from overworking and exhausting yourself. And of course, like when we look at those things, like we look at food as comfort, we look at like drinking as comfort, we look at like just like we find things that we find comfort in. We look at like, yeah, just things that are not always the healthiest for us, but because we've been programmed to think this is where I find my comfort, this is where I find my enjoyment, because I'm not really resting, I'm overworking, I'm
Mm-hmm.
overexhausted. But if I sleep, then that just means I'm being weak. That means I'm being lazy.
One thing that I've tried, though, that also helps, not that anyone else, but when it's time to go to bed, you got to turn off your. Although I know that makes sounds very, uh, is it cliche, the right term?
Yeah, cliche, yeah.
Is when you turn off the phone, um, it makes a big difference.
Hmm.
It really does. When you turn off your phone, you turn off the TV, you turn off whatever device it is that that you have in your
Right.
space of living.
Question: do you feel like when you like physically turn off your phone, it like does something in your mental state too?
Absolutely.
Like your mental like turns off?
Significantly. Absolutely. Yes, it does. 1000%. I
Mm.
sleep throughout the whole night. I well rested. I'm not constantly, for a while I took a break from Instagram and Snapchat, TikTok, all of the bullshit
Right.
before, because I wasn't getting proper sleep. On top of that, it led to me to doing a lot of excessive things like eating,
Mm.
drinking, smoking, which I know this is bad for your health, but like, these are the things that we don't think about at the moment because we continue to do all of this extra things, right?
Right.
Which leads to scrolling, and then like, damn, it's already 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, whoa, but I still feel wide awake there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But know when it's time to sleep. 10 o'clock. Like people are like, I'm just waking up at 10. Like,
Well, you
it's
should
time to go
be.
to sleep. And just depending on what you're doing, you know what I mean? If you're at home and you have a regular day job and whatever you're doing for the week, you have to turn your phone off. I
Right.
don't even do I used to do it to where like it was just the alarm, but that doesn't lead to it. For me, the alarm just makes you to turn off and then pick up the phone, which lead to start scrolling.
Right.
You know what I mean? So back to that where I did take a break for like I think it was like literally almost a year.
Mm.
A year of not having those things, and now that we got back to doing this stuff with the podcast, it's very easy to get like sucked back in.
Oh, 100%.
Because then you're like you go from the driving, you're at the red light, and you want to like everyone behind you is honking.
Right.
Hey, nah,
And then
nigga,
you
f
just
you,
get
nigga.
that instinct to like pick up your phone and just like, oh, I have like 2 seconds while
Well,
the
I'm
light
just
is red
saying,
to
and then
scroll.
like
No,
that's why
exactly. I
people are
100
honking
agree.
because they're like scrolling, and you're at a red
And
light.
distracted. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's turning off your phone. I think it turns everything off. Like you could, I mean, for me, I could breathe. I could lay comfortably. Like you could be like, damn, this comfortable. Is this a
It's a new
Portopedic?
mattress.
Yeah, I thought I had, but you know what I mean? It goes to that, it leads to that.
Right.
And then, like, you wake up, like, man, then you could wake up in the morning and you don't even need an alarm because the body and the eyes, if you just tell yourself, got to get up at this time,
Right.
the body has a mind and it'll wake you up. You know, it's
Mm.
called the stars in the moon. No, but I'm saying, yeah, go ahead, my bad.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. And especially because like it's I was like not really in social media as often as I used to be, and so but then like now that like I have my phone back working again, I'm like like on the phone a lot more often again.
For
Like
real.
I was looking at my
Back to
screen
playing
time
all of the
for
games.
reals, but I was looking at my screen time. I was like, dang, but it's something that I have to learn how to balance out yet again, and that's kind of going back to
When we were
we're
at your
talking
aunt's house, they it doesn't seem like. Well, I think it's a little different when you guys are all interacting in person.
right.
Then, oh, okay, never mind.
Well, there's also times where like for example, like I'll be out like there's times where I've gone out with friends and I'm over there waiting to go get my dance on. Like, hey, break your dance at the club. And then I just see like all these like all my friends that I went with, they're like either on their phone, like
Phones.
texting like, oh, this person's gonna come over here and meet me here. And it's like, why don't you just meet someone that's already here? Why you
Yeah,
gotta text somebody to come over here and
for
meet you?
real.
Or like, oh yeah, he saw my story and so now he wants to come over and like hang out with me. Or and I'm like, bro, there's like how many people that's over here that's like hanging out and you want to be on your phone instead of like dancing on the floor and just like enjoying the moment that you're in. And so I just feel like that just like just being on the phone because we become so used to all of our social interactions being on the phone and everything, it's now a part of our daily lives. Like it's almost as if like, oh, I can't really go and meet a person in person without first like talking to them through the phone or anything. Which I think is crazy to me because that's never how it was before. Like before you could just like go to a place and like just walk and talk to someone random that you meet. Like if you see someone with a shirt that you like, like, oh, I like your shirt. I saw that band and da da da, and then have a conversation with them about like the band that's on their shirt or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
that stuff doesn't entirely happen as much anymore because we're constantly doing this all the time,
Twiddling.
constantly twiddling the fingers and twiddling the thumbs. And so, but I also feel like that leads to poor mental health because that leads to like social anxiety. Like, oh, I don't know how to have a conversation in person anymore because I'm so used to having this digital wall protect me from having that human interaction. Because a digital interaction is not the same as a human interaction. I don't
No.
care who argues with me on this. It is not the same as a human interaction. Like you can say like, "Oh yeah, I texted, I called this person," but if we're not meeting up in person, if we're not like hanging out in person, it's like vague. It doesn't really do much because I can easily not respond on the phone. I can easily not respond on like social media or whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
And so it just causes these strained relationships. And that's what hustle culture does because we're so stuck to our phones trying to like make ends meet, trying to get the money, trying to reward the dopamine in our heads and reward the dopamine that comes from our brains or trying to increase the amount of dopamine that comes from our brains in order for our bodies to feel so good that we forget about that human connection. We put human connections on hold. We put those relationships on hold. We put our mental state on hold because technically, from constantly trying to get that dopamine out of your brain, you're straining your mind.
Hella.
You are
I know that
straining your
firsthand because
mind.
I do that all the time.
And you don't realize it
You
because you're
don't.
just trying to get that hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and a lot of times we feel guilty for even sleeping or resting.
I know I do. Um, I mean, that's just something for me though. You know, I put those kind of restrictions on my own self. You know, just because Yeah. But yes, too much sleep is extremely way too much.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying to like go sleep for like 10 hours in the day. No, that's way too much.
Like I'm not a sleeper at to begin with.
I'm a person I need 6 to 7 hours at least.
I need at least just I'll say a window of 5 hours for me, and then I'll do a nap during the day
Mm,
type thing, and I'll be straight.
I feel like I need to start doing that is like naps and then shorter sleep time. That way I can be more productive during the day and
And there's nothing wrong with naps. I mean, a nap meaning, uh, you know, there's science and there's proven facts for this. That how significant a nap could be
right.
for a person.
Mm,
20 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Like, you don't know how much that could recharge. That's the real Monster, Red Bull, Rockstar drink.
you don't even need an energy
Pre-workout.
drink
No,
to
you
it.
don't,
Yeah.
because I've tried it. I tried them all. I've tried them all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
I feel like they just add to the exhaustion and then the crash is even higher than
I just feel like they just make it taste good to make you believe it's real
it's a
because it
mental thing
comes from the
again.
taste. From the taste.
Right.
Anyway, but that'd be another subject. But it tastes good,
Right.
but yeah, it doesn't do anything. And
We should
really,
really like
it's getting proper rest.
right. Which
Yes.
leads to my next question. Why is rest the new success? So we see like on a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, just some examples that I have here, like Jeff Bezos, he prioritizes his sleep. Like his sleep is a
Who's that?
non-negotiable. The owner of Amazon or the guy who created, yeah,
Oh,
guy who
Amazon.
created Amazon, yeah. So Jeff
You mean the
Bezos,
one that his wife has to take something amount of billion of dollars? Him?
that's the
I'm
one.
just saying. Yeah.
Hey, he can afford it,
Sure.
but Jeff Bezos prioritizes his sleep above all else. Like he even lets people know, like, nope, these are my sleeping times. These are the times where I shut everything off. Don't bother me. Don't call me. Don't email me.
Turning off the
Nothing.
phone is a big game changer, though.
Right. Exactly. And then even Ariana Huffington, she wrote an entire book about how rest completely changed her life.
Hmm.
And then Bill Gates, he takes think weeks where he completely disconnects from the world. Like he turns off his computer, his like all his
I don't take
devices, his
no
phones.
medication, by the way, which led to this, to where like I started to think like before you have to go to the doctor and get prescribed for all these damn medicines that you don't need. How about you just try a few simple steps,
Right.
like literally simple steps. You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
will help you just by taking. I mean, I don't know I don't know how to speak for everyone else, but like it might work for you. Try it.
Right.
I used to think the same thing until you try it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Whatever it may be for the person.
Right.
For me, I like to read. I like reading a book. Maybe watch a show on Netflix.
Right.
Or yeah, I mean, then you know how to just turn off everything and go to sleep. Live to fight another day.
Wake up tomorrow and go again.
And go again.
But even like when you look at like athletes, like I was watching this thing on YouTube on Kobe Bryant where he was talking about just his regiment, his training regiment. So like he would wake up at a certain time in the morning, do his training, go home, rest, get breakfast, get recuperated, then go back again, train some more, then go back home, rest, get recuperated, go back, train one last time. After that, go back, get to sleep and everything. And so we see how because he created that work-life balance, like he's one of like the greatest athletes of all time. Everybody talks about Kobe Bryant and his mentality, the whole Mamba mentality thing. But Mamba mentality did not work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mamba mentality trained, rest, trained, rest, trained, rest. Rinse and repeat the next day. Train, rest, train, rest, train, rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so taking from an example like that, where it's like, where rest was the recipe to his success. It wasn't because he trained 24 hours in the day to become the best basketball player, to become the great basketball player that he was. He had rest in between of his training to give his body time to recuperate, to give his mind time to recuperate and everything, to be able to enjoy the
And it's
other
also,
moments in
too,
life.
it's about revolving yourself, surrounding yourself around with people that somewhat have the same thing that what you
Right, that
got
are
going on.
like-minded. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you hang around that exhausted person, then that's exactly what you're gonna get. You're gonna get.
Right, you're going to feel exhausted all the time.
So put yourself around people that like to do the same things like you. It's time to go to the gym. Let's set the gym up. Let's meet. Yada yada yada.
Right.
That's the kind of people you want to be around.
Absolutely, 100%. And so being able to
And by all
have that
means, and
team,
by all means, there's a time and place for everything, right?
mm,
You know what I'm saying? It's just knowing having a balance of everything. You know, not to say you're better than anyone, you know, or changing. I call it shift. You know, when you're
mm,
driving a stick, you know, you shift. You're not changing it. Well, I guess that might be the same thing, right?
changing, switching gears,
Shifting.
shifting gears.
So, or changing gears, whatever. But anyways, I like to just shift. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's all.
But the good thing about that too, in your example of like shifting gears and everything, there's a balance that has to be done in order to shift the gears, right? You can't just like have your foot on the gas and like
Well, how
shift
much time do you want to
automatically while
give,
you're
though,
doing
is
stick.
another thing, too. How much of your energy and time do you want to give this dramatic person or job or relationship or whatever it is that you're going through? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly.
So that applies as well.
Mm. What's the word that you like to use for pivot?
Pivot. Yeah.
Pivot.
Might think I might go to the left, but it's called the spin move. Skirt, skirt.
Oh man, but never mind. I'm not gonna say what's on my mind, but that's not to say that hustling isn't bad, y'all. The key to this is balance and being able to discover that balance for yourself and get away from that mindset that overworking or exhausting yourself is going to get you somewhere, because it's not. And
Facts.
we need to, our generations need, the older generations, the working generations right now need to be the ones to break that for the younger generations. And we need to teach our kids and teach the incoming workforce that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to need to rest your mind if you feel overwhelmed, overworked,
It's okay.
exhausted. It's okay. It's okay to take a break. Do not feel guilty for being able, for taking a break, for giving your brain a break. Because we need to work. We need to work. We need to be productive. We need to have a purpose. We're created as human beings to operate on a purpose.
Right.
That's something that the Lord gives us from inception, or whatever it is that you believe in. I believe in the Lord. So, something that the Lord gives us from inception is purpose, is being able to have a purpose for life. Because if you go through life without a purpose, it just kind of feels void. There's no like objective that you're working towards. And so, when the cost is your well being, it's not going to be sustainable. And so, in order to make sure that our future generations are not going through the same limiting behaviors and limiting beliefs and limiting practices that keeps them from being more successful, we are the ones that need to break that for them. And we are the ones that need to set the stage so that way they can be better for the next generation and the next generation and the next
Well, let's
generation.
just start from the next generation. Not the next generation, next generation, next generation, next generation. Like, damn, motherfucker, like, let's just work on the next generation, okay? Next generation, generation,
Hey, where's the
generator?
But some strategies that I believe that I can. These are some strategies that I wish I had implemented for myself before, and I will definitely implement for myself in the future. Is these four? One, thank you, my conscious. Number 1, set boundaries. Number 2, time block my day. Number 3, prioritize sleep. And number 4, unplug regularly. Because, yeah, all of those are very important. Being able to set your boundaries, prioritizing your rest, making sure that you block out your day, have an agenda set for the day. That's something that I definitely 500% need to work on and will start doing.
Prioritize yourself first.
And unplug regularly.
Yes.
But you're right. Prioritize yourself
first. It's a little
first.
ugly ass.
Oh, yeah. So, some key takeaways from this episode. Let us know. What do you do when you're feeling burnout? Do you go through your schedule and take out the things that you feel like are not necessary, that is too much for you to do? Do you need to stop glorifying overexhaustion and overworking? Do you need to have you reevaluate that kind of thought in your mind? If you're like me and that's something that you have to reevaluate for yourself, do it. I promise you, it's going to make your mental feel so much better. Glorifying all these. Work. See me doing work.
If you need a pipe, you know what I'm saying? Just holler at the pipe master. You know what I'm saying? Come over there and pipe you down if you need.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But rest. A key takeaway here for us is rest is the new foundation for success. So make sure you prioritize yourself and let us know. How do you prioritize rest in your life? Do you take time to read? Do you just go for a walk? Do you take a nap? What is it that you do for yourself to prioritize rest for you?
No, I'm just saying because when we're gonna go to prison or get they freedom taken away, damn, I'm gonna get a doctorate degree, become a professor. Damn, I'm gonna know how to read all of the books in the library.
For real?
Damn, you can't do this shit outside.
Because they're too busy working.
Damn.
Or too busy trying to find a way to get money somehow, some way, somewhere. Get your money, honey. And that's not to take away from it. Get your money, honey. Get your money. But yeah, let us know, guys. How do you prioritize rest? Tell us your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Sassy, got anything else to add?
No, that's it. Let us know, man. We're on all social media platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Halaban, Jelagan, and Falaban. We're on all the guns.
Follow us on our socials. You can find us at From the Gate on all social media platforms. Check out our website, FromDaGate.com. I'm your host, Lisi.
Success.
Deuces.
Gia.